Hey there, and welcome to GamePoints episode 99, our weekly little get-together. We talk about the past week in gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
I'm David Brown.
David Brown? David Brown?
I wasn't actually listening to you. Also, yeah, that's the thing that happened.
We do stream live every Monday here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. If you want to hop into the conversation, feel free to type away there in chat. We tend to acknowledge everyone that can, as long as the question's somewhat relevant to the topic we're on. If you can't watch us live, come to our YouTube channel. Regardless of where you see us at, feel free to follow, like, subscribe, or unsubscribe, dislike, whatever people do on social media. Today, we are going to be talking about that pesky son of a bitch Microtransactions again. We have some EA, Bioware Montreal news we want to get into. But first, before we get into any of that, there are two things I just want to get out of the way real quick. One, I am aware, very painfully, of the Nick Robinson Polygon thing going on right now. My stance on that entire thing is we do not have enough information at the moment to really get into it until such time that the investigation by Vox Media is concluded. I don't want to start assuming things about him or any of his alleged things that he's done or any of the accusers. I want more information before we really do a deep dive into this. My gut feeling says, there's probably something there, but way too many people are kind of jumping on the crucify this poor son of a bitch without any information or even hearing what he has to say about it. So until such time as things start to conclude, we're not going to really be getting into that. Does that sound fair?
Yes. We have no proof. It's not a topic until there's actually proof.
All right. The second thing I wanted to get out of the way real quick, and I'm sure you've seen this popping around, David, is this super aggressive Destiny 2 marketing that's going on right now, including branding deals with Pop-Tarts and Rockstar.
Oh, yeah, dude. Destiny 2 is, they're really haloing it up.
Now, when I first saw this, I didn't really have a problem with it, but it just seemed very archaic to me. It felt like it came from like that early 90s, late 80s era of Jurassic Park and all the McDonald's or the Tim Burton Batman being fucking lambasted everywhere.
Dude, did you miss every single Call of Duty release over the last 10 years?
That's literally why I was about to say at first I felt that way, but I started to think about some of the bigger AAA releases, and this shit's just everywhere.
Yeah, they're literally just doing the Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, Black Ops, whatever nonsense thing.
Just something about Destiny.
They just picked Rockstar instead of Mountain Dew.
Yeah, something about Destiny being on Pop-Tarts too. I don't know what it is about that specific combination that just seems wrong to me.
To be fair, Pop-Tarts had lost all credibility the instant they decided that Jolly Rancher Pop-Tarts was a good idea.
Oh, they've gone worse than that. There's like Orange Crush Pop-Tart.
No, I'm saying that's when they lost it.
Oh, that's when they all started going downhill. At that point. Okay.
Yes, that's the moment they jumped the shark.
Was that before and after they stopped having the unfrosted blueberry?
Breakfast snack, like a breakfast snack? Is that what you call it? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
the
well,
fuck
it sure
that
is
company's
fucking
called.
a healthy breakfast. I can tell you that. Breakfast snack makes sense.
Yeah, but I didn't know a company like that could jump the shark, but apparently you can.
Yeah, well.
Congratulations, Pop-Tarts. I wish you and Destiny 2 all the best.
See, at least we make fun of the Dorito Mountain Dew, Jeff Keighley, the Dorito Pope, all praise his name. We make fun of that combination, but to me, Mountain Dew and Doritos at least make sense from a gaming standpoint.
Well, if you walk into a room full of gamers and you bring Doritos and Mountain Dew, chances are before you leave, all of that shit's getting eaten and drank.
Agreed.
I guess it's equally likely if you rock in with Rockstar Pop-Tarts, but I mean, I don't know who shows up to a gathering with Rockstar Pop-Tarts.
I am now.
All right.
By the way, I do want to say this real quick. All respect to Jeff Keighley. I actually really like that guy. He does a lot of fucking work, despite things like Hydrobot. But I actually like him quite a bit. So no disrespect there, man. I'm just poking fun at you. Anyways, let's go ahead and get right into the stories of last week. And we're going to start off out the gate with one of my more anticipated games of this year, or at least it kind of was. This sucked a little bit of the gem out of my donut for it. and that is that the Shadow of War is going to be having microtransactions.
Microtransactions?
I know, horrible, right? Now, normally, I wouldn't be too offended by this, right? But my opinion on microtransactions has softened over years. Normally, if you have just cosmetic stuff, I really don't care too much about it. But they've gone a little bit farther than just cosmetic items. Let me go ahead and read you right here. By the way, Disco King, I see in chat there. Yeah, my fucking headset broke right in the same spot. I love Razer product typically, but their fucking headset is like just atrocious with this little bit right here. It's Razer, fix your shit. I've replaced this twice, by the way. Anyways, going on to the announcement on the official blog for Shadow of Mordor dealing with microtransactions. An important aspect of the Nemesis system now comes in forging, customizing, and leading your own army of unique orc followers against the Fortress of Mordor. There are different ways to do this, including dominating orcs by exploring vast open world and countering them as part of Rockstar, or players can acquire orcs and other items through the market, otherwise known as an in-game store. Through the market, players can purchase loot chests, war chests, XP boosts, and bundles. Loot chests contain gear, such as weapons and armor, for varying variety. Equipping and upgrading these weapons and armors enhance blah, 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 blah. Loot chests also contain XP boosts that help level Talion faster. Orc war chests provide orc followers of varying rarity to help forge a strong army, and then XP. Essentially, it's kind of like the Overwatch loot chest thing that you're seeing going around everywhere, but it actually includes equipment that is designed to make your character more powerful. This is pay to win.
By definition, yes. You can pay money to have the gear that makes it so you win the game. But the weird thing to me, because I don't pay that much attention to shit, I'm like, Shadow of Mordor, why the fuck would you need loot boxes? Because loot boxes are all about showing your shit to other people. Right?
Well, we'll definitely get into that here in a second before we wrap up this story. We'll move that will be touched on our next story. Warner Brothers has been very egregious with this shit lately. Go back to Mortal Kombat 10 and Injustice 2.
Any PC release they've had in the
any
last
recent
5
release,
years.
any PC release has just been completely and totally fucked up. Now, they do say from their official FAQ, if I go back to that webpage and scroll down, you can see right here, does gold give me an advantage in game? Warner Brothers says no. Gold does not give you any advantage over other players. A player who invests enough time can progress the same amount and have access to the same content as a player who purchases gold. This is a fucking lie.
Dude, no, you know all those mobile games people play on their phones? Because you could totally get all the same shit if you just play it for 18,000 hours. You know that, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. There are
studies. You can be the king of Clash of Hero Clans or whatever. You just got to play more time than is on the Earth.
Yeah, there have been studies where it's like, for example, I want to say this was Overwatch, to go back to the big granddaddy of all these loot boxes coming out everywhere, that someone worked out the math and the drop rate and shit that you would have to play Overwatch for 18 years consecutively to unlock every single bit of content out there naturally.
Yeah, right.
So, no, don't tell me that all this stuff can be earned naturally throughout the game.
That's literally the line they put in every single pay-to-win game.
Yeah. The bigger thing is, when they say it doesn't give you advantage over other players, okay, it's a single-player game, right? I can see why that not be the case, but it's not single-player only, which brings us to our next story, the fact that Shadow of War is going to have ranked multiplayer. This here is via Eurogamer. Middle-earth Shadow of War players will have 2 ways to invade other people's Mordors when the game launches this year. First of these is a new mission type called Social Conquest. The others see a return of vendettas from Shadow of Mordor within 1 or 2 tweaks. In Social Conquest, players set up captured forces however they choose, installing an overlord and a series of captains from their existing follower base. They will also be able to purchase upgrades for their defending army before sharing that fortress online. After that, other players will be free to assault the fortress using their own army, loading into a defending player's instance of Mordor and launch an attack. This sounds a lot like the way Metal Gear Solid 5 had those forward operating bases, right?
Yeah.
You can invade other players' big shell and everything. This is where the problem comes in. In ranked mode, players will earn better assault rating with each successful conquest, with that rating dropping at the event. With that rating dropping at the event of a failed attempt, meaning that if you have better gear, you have more advantages to get higher up on the leaderboards. There is a competition here. To get that better gear faster, you fucking buy loot boxes. It is
Do you
pay
keep trying to say metal
win.
here? You're having some trouble talking, man.
Am I? What am I saying?
You're saying better. Better
Oh,
gear.
better gear. If you have better gear, you have advantages.
I liked it. It was good.
Additionally, vitally, ranked mode is also different in that the attacking player's followers are at risk. If a captain dies during an assault, it's dead for real. Permanently. Meaning, shit you buy in the loot boxes can be killed.
Yeah.
The fuck?
I'm gonna pay money so I can get this dude that's super hardcore so I can go invade this base with this guy that's kind of an asshole. And that guy paid way more money than me. And this one thing that I spent my hard-earned $4 on is super dead now. And I'm not allowed to buy any other things for this game. Because I'm broke.
Warner Brothers. The fuck are you doing here? This is some of the most egregious abuse of microtransactions I've seen in the game lately.
Okay, so here's the thing. We're aware of Warner Brothers and the fact that they're a little bit of a shit show. But they've done a couple things really well. And by a couple things, I mean make fuck tons of money because they've produced a couple of games that were really popular. The Batman Arkham series.
Yep.
Mortal Kombat did really well. And Shadow of Mordor obviously was like kind of a surprise hit that did outrageously well. If you follow the sequels to each of those games, what happened? They're all built to make WB more fucking money.
Yeah.
Just that's kind of how they're rolling. I don't this isn't really surprising to me, and it's why I stopped buying WB games because I don't want to pay them for this behavior. But the problem is games are really popular, and most people don't give two shits about this stuff. So I guarantee the game will still sell fucking gangbusters at launch.
Yeah, and I agree. And this is one of those cases where people who complain about microtransactions, like you and I, have to realize we are in the small minority of people who pay attention to this shit. A lot of people who pick these games up just don't care, or they'll go, whatever, I'm not going to use that and it doesn't matter. If you read deeper into it, though, it's not like the Warner Brothers is putting this shit in here and not deliberately making the game in such a way that you have to buy the stuff, or at least heavily incentivize you to buy the stuff. That means mechanics of the game will be changed to help drive people to pick up those boxes. It means that things that might have been there to begin with might have been taken out to be put in those boxes. It means some shit might be artificially scarce to find in the game itself that's easy to find in the boxes. And it does fundamentally change the way the game is played. Now, like I said earlier, do most people care? And I'm not talking about the people who are watching this show or you and I or any of the people who like live and breathe this stuff nonstop. I'm talking about the 14-year-old kid, the 12-year-old kid whose mom and dad goes and picks them up Shadow of Mordor at GameStop and goes, "Here's your game, son." Is he going to care? No. But this just leaves...
you know, anybody that's pre-ordering stuff still.
Right. This just leaves such a piss-poor taste in my mouth. And it just feels so dated when you see microtransactions becoming more and more focused only around cosmetic items as opposed to this pay-to-win Apple, Android, phone, mobile game bullshit mentality that's kind of a race to a bottom, and when they're only looking for that 0.0001% of players that will spend $500 extra on this. And it just...
It's weird. People are aware of mobile. Well, I guess big companies and shareholders are aware of mobile. And the fact that some games that have all this kind of shit will make fuck tons of money. On occasion, if they're successful. there's 8 million clones of like Clash of Clans and all that other shit out there that make no fucking money because no one cares because it doesn't get any popularity.
Well, because it's not a successful business model.
Yeah, on its own, it doesn't work.
It
has to be out front, which is why you'll have companies like WB when they have a game that has a big fucking fan base like Shadow Mortar does. When they go to make the sequel, they throw in all of this shit to try and squeeze every last penny from you.
But like I said, it doesn't work. How many? What, something like shit, I don't have the number in front of me. But isn't there something like 300,000 games on the fucking App Store?
There's way more than that.
How many of those make money? 0.0000001% of them? Everyone wants to be Clash of Cans or whatever the fuck that game is called that I see on the advertisements on my Yahoo page all the time. But no one is that because it's an unsuccessful business model. It is fucking atrocious, that business model. But everyone sees the example of that one game making shit tons of money. But that one game is making all that money based on less than 0.1% of its player base. So I don't get why companies are chasing this shit. The only thing I can think of is that there's, like you touched on stockholders earlier, right? There are people who are invested in Warner Brother games who don't know shit about video games, but just go, I want this game to make Clash of Clans money or fucking mobile game money. Yeah. And they go, well, you realize that's such a small percentage of our players. And they say, I don't care. I want them to make that kind of money. And
well, also the big misstep, and this is something that we can go all the way back to Horse Armor for, is that when someone spends $60 fucking on a game, they really don't want to spend an extra $10,000 to get all the rest of the shit from it.
Listen, people out there, I recognize microtransactions aren't going away. And
microtransactions.
I have learned to accept things like cosmetic DLC even in paid games, which is why, for example, Overwatch's loot box system, despite being deliberately designed to invoke the same feelings as a gambler gets pulling on a slot machine, because it's really the same thing. It's kind of abusive if you think about it, and malicious. But I'm fine with that in there because that shit is cosmetic, ultimately. What I am not fine with is that this bullshit of, hey, you can get better equipment, and then Warner Brothers having the sand to tell me, hey, it doesn't unbalance the game. You'll be able to find it in game. Fuck you. The first people, the largest amount of player base this game is going to have is within its first few weeks of launch. And that means most of the people who aren't buying the loot boxes aren't going to get this equipment, whereas the people who are buying the loot boxes are going to get this equipment, and it's going to lopside your goddamn game. Anyways, I think the point has been made.
It's upsetting. I kind of hate the fact that we almost have like every year another reason, at least personally, for me to be mad at WB.
Yeah, it seems that way, right? Every fucking game they come out, we bitch about.
Like Mortal Kombat, I was so excited to play, but I wanted to play it on PC, and it was just a buggy, horrible mess. I can go back to, let's talk about the last Arkham game, and the fact that still doesn't run well for a lot of people.
Yeah, they just kind of gave up on that.
It's just...
Earth Moon Sun, I appreciate it. He says that we're making a bunch of good points, or some good points rather. Thanks for watching. Feel free to comment or ask questions or even join the conversation with whatever you want. Either way, thanks for being here. All right, I think we're done with Warner Brothers at the moment. Let's go ahead and move on to some EA Studio stuff, and this one's actually kind of sad.
Dude, EA's doing that thing that EA does.
This is via Video Games 24/7. Mass Effect Andromeda developer Bioware Montreal merges with EA Motive. For all intents and purposes, Bioware Montreal is no more. The team at Bioware Montreal, the studio behind Mass Effect Andromeda, has joined Motive Studios. Motive is EA's newest studio, headed by industry veteran Jade Raymond. Jade Raymond, I believe, Mirror's Edge? I don't remember now that I think about it. Is currently co-developing Amy Hennig's Star Wars title alongside Visceral Games. Now, Amy Hennig did Uncharted, or wrote the story for Uncharted, I should say. in addition to making single-player campaign for Star Wars Battlefront 2. This confirmation comes after a report back in May suggested that EA is downsizing the Andromeda team following the game's poor reception. Andromeda was the studio's first and only game as its lead studio. Essentially, Andromeda bombed so hard that the new studio from Bioware, a name that used to actually have a lot of panache and meaning in the game industry, you love Gravitas, a new spin-off studio from them opened up. The game did so badly in EA's eyes, they shuttled that studio down.
And this is after firing the GM, or the GM stepping down.
After Aaron Flynn leaving on his own accord, and Casey Hudson, the guy who bounced out before Andromeda came out, taking over all of it. Clearly no connection there at all. Jade Raymond did Watch Dogs. It sounds like good. Thank you, Disco King.
And the first few Assassin's Creeds, I think.
That's what it was. Assassin's Creed. That's what she did, not Mirror's Edge. I forgot what she did. God damn. This is just more me lamenting what happened to Mass Effect. That franchise was so beloved, even after the ending to Mass Effect 3 fiasco. And to see it just get done dirty this way. And now it's going to go up along the shelf at EA's fucking vault where they keep the Ark of the Covenant alongside Dead Space, and we're not ever going to see this franchise come back. At least for a minimum of 8 years.
I think we called 8 years before. It's going to take a while. What they have to do is they have to fuck over Dragon Age first, then they can think about it.
Yeah.
Remember that other thing you used to like that we fucked up? Well, we're going to try again.
It's not looking good at BioWare. And even more tragic is that their new game Anthem, if you recall last week, if you watched that disaster of a show that we did, well, I tried to do solo, one of the lead directors on that game died. And he was like high up in the Anthem creation process. So that game's been derailed a little bit too, at least at some function. We don't know how much, but he was heavily involved in it. So, big problems at BioWare, and I mean, it sucks, right?
Yeah,
anyways,
that's pretty rough.
Next
but
topic.
It's a thing that EA does. Oh, dude, I'm all over this next one.
Yeah. We should be doing this back and forth thing. We kind of forgot to do it, so why don't you go ahead and take this one here.
And by forgot, you mean you talked the whole time, which I was totally fine with, because the most important story of the week. Hold on to your seats, folks. Rockstar Games has found themselves in some hot water, all right? Rockstar is currently under the eyes of a lawsuit put together by the Psychic Readers Network. Yes, the people that owned the 90s hotline psychic Miss Cleo. They are currently suing the company over creating a doppelganger of her in Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Yes, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, the game that came out in 2002 that had a character that looked an awful lot like Miss Cleo, who also happened to be voiced by Miss fucking Cleo, is too close to one of their properties. So they are suing Rockstar over like a copyright claim.
This article up here.
A game that came out 15 years ago.
This article appears from bleedingcool.com. Quote the article. Rockstar Games just found themselves on the weird end of an even weirder lawsuit as the Psychic Readers Network, owners of the famous 90s psychic hotline Miss Cleo, are suing the company over creating a doppelganger of her in Grand Theft Auto Vice City. According to the paperwork, which was also filed against Take-Two Interactive in a Florida federal court on Wednesday, and of course it's in Florida, right? The character of Auntie Paulette is apparently, quote, too close to comfort, and in their opinion, bears many similarities to her in real life. The Psychic Readers Network owns the rights to the persona of Miss Cleo and claims to have spent $100 million to make her famous, while the makers of GTA have made over $500 million on her lookalike. So, to go on what you touched on, Vice City was released in 2002. That is 15 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
And she was revoiced by Yuri Del Harris, who is Miss Cleo. And she died around this time last year. What? I can't even...
It's the most ridiculous story. That's also my favorite story. But it's it's like Harmony Gold levels of just random copyright patent troll style bullshit lawsuits. Like, there's no way this goes anywhere. Hey, you guys made too much money off of a likeness that we own. Because, yes, the reason Grand Theft Auto makes money is because that one time they had a fake Miss Cleo.
So
That's
there's
it, for sure.
There's a couple things working against the Psychic Readers Network on this one. One,
the law? Parody?
Yeah, that's it. One, it's 15 years old. The game is fucking 15 years old. Two, parody laws in America more or less say it's all right to fucking do this because they're not saying it is Miss Cleo. It's a caricature of Miss Cleo. Additionally, it's not like this is the first time that the Psychic Readers Network has sued over this kind of bullshit. A couple years back, the Psychic Readers Network sued Miss Cleo, General Mills, over using Miss Cleo's image. Miss Harris briefly reprised the Miss Cleo character a couple years back in a series of online advertisements for General Mills, and it was supposed to be bringing Cinnamon French Toast Crunch back. And the Psychic Readers Network sued, saying that they owned the character, so they do have a history of pulling a Harmony Gold, as it were, on this shit. From what I understand, the commercials were pulled, but nothing really came from it. These guys are fucking copyright trolls.
But let's talk about the fact that this is all happening in California, I believe.
Florida is where the lawsuit was filed.
Oh, is it Florida? Okay,
yes.
I'm sorry. Well, then in that case, it's even better. Because normally the statutes of limitations, you know, how long you kind of can do shit like this, or I guess the easy way to say it, how long you can wait to sue somebody, for most things is about a year. For some egregious things, it's 2 years. For outrageous things, it's 4 years. And for stuff that would get you like felony convictions, it's 8 years. I don't think this one's gonna. I think it's gonna make it, you guys.
We at GamePoints are not legal scholars, so don't hold us to that. But I think David is correct in this case. The fact that it's been out for 15 years, you have missed the fucking boat. Additionally, even if it was 6 months ago,
Readers Network, please Google.
Well, the Psychic, yeah. I mean, if you want to know how legitimate of a company the Psychic Readers Network is, if the name alone didn't throw it off.
Oh, yeah. What are we up to nowadays? Let's talk about it.
Give them a quick Google and see all the legal problems they've had dealing with things like fraud, misrepresenting a product, things along the lines of like, oh, this is a free call while I've been charging you for it. Quick Google search will pop all that up. I'm going to go ahead and add the word allegedly to all of this in case one of them happens to be watching. And I don't know why they wouldn't be. I mean, they're psychic, right? They can tell when we're talking about them.
Yeah, they're gonna know about this. They're already watching it. They're mad. Also, did you know that you can still call the Psychic Readers Network and you can pay $2.99 a minute to talk to a real life psychic that's not gonna sound at all like Miss Cleo because they'd have to sue themselves?
I will do it for 25 cents a minute.
I will not do it at all and pretend I never did.
Disco King and Check makes a good point. They all did get arrested by Cartman. I do recall that happening.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They kind of got rounded up and pushed into the corner. Anyways.
Right, well, this has been Game Points, your weekly news show.
All of a sudden, I start like having an aneurysm and my nose starts bleeding. My head explodes.
Oh, no, we're done. Where can we go from that? What are we going to top that with? There's nothing.
I mean...
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah, the rest of the stories are pretty boring. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing that I saw.
At the end.
Next story. Destiny 2, back again to our little starter there. Destiny 2 is going to be blocking some streaming voice and monitoring features for the PC release of Destiny 2. It's kind of bullshit. Essentially, this is from their official blog post right here. Destiny 2 PC and third-party application feature compatibility. To help ensure that every player will have a fair shot at fun and glory in Destiny 2 on PC, we resist attempts by third-party applications to insert code into the game client. This may result in incompatibility between Destiny 2 PC and the features of common third-party applications. Listed below are the examples of features which may not be compatible with Destiny 2. These include, but are not limited to, the examples outlined below. We're going to skim through these real quick. First off, OBS and XSplit, essentially game capture mode, is not supported. Voice communications, who's talking and visual notifications from Discord and Mumble are not compatible. And hardware monitoring. Essentially, if you want to check out statistics using Fraps, MSI Afterburner, XOC, or EVGA Precision, you're fucked. this is not really anything major in my opinion, but it's fucking dumb because Bungie, you're not special. Other AAA releases with massive multiplayer components operate just fine without this bullshit. And get fucked if you think it's necessary. Because it's not. This is just you trying to keep a clamp down on your game even stronger than it is. People are going to find a way around this. People are still going to fucking cheat. And all you're doing is fucking making things difficult for streamers.
I think they're just getting some money from NVIDIA because NVIDIA Shadowplay is totally still supported.
I mean, I don't want to necessarily go down that road, but it could be. Also, Disco King in chat. Remember that scene in Screamers when the guy's head explodes? It's not Screamers. Screamers is the science fiction movie starring Peter Weller on an abandoned planet with weird military technology that eventually becomes sentient and kills everyone on both sides. What you're thinking of is the 80s great cult hit Scanners, where psychic vampires would make people's head explode by watching them on the TV. Just had to point that out. Anyways, David, your opinion.
I mean, I think Scanners is probably the better movie.
I meant... I meant on this Destiny 2 streaming overreach, I guess we can call it. It's not really egregious, it just is fucking dumb.
Oh, dude, we gotta call it Streamergate. Streamergate.
No, I am
Hashtag
done.
trending on Twitter.
No,
It's
anything
gate,
with
put a
the
gate
word
behind
gate
shit.
at the end is fucking dumb. Hashtag Gategate.
Hashtag Gate. It's fucking stupid, but they're already doing it, and there's not shit you're gonna do about it, and it's still gonna sell like hotcakes because they're gonna put Destiny on fucking Rockstar cans and Pop-Tarts. So get wrecked, everybody. What am I gonna do? I'm not playing that fucking game.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, once
I might,
again,
but...
just seems really fucking misguided. It's complicating things for the end user that aren't really going to change anything at all. And if you think this is going to prevent cheating or even make it slightly harder for someone to cheat, I'm not a programmer, but I'm willing to bet they'll just find another way to get through.
We figured this out a long fucking time ago, but DRM only hurts people that pay full price.
Now, to be fair, this isn't DRM.
I am aware, but it's still general fuckery.
Yeah.
Because I almost guarantee there's going to be versions of this game that come out where some motherfucker like patched all that shit out. You can download it legally from the
it's going to happen. Anyways.
People do that for fun.
Yeah, it's...
Think of any like mobile release. Remember back when the PSP was a thing? Back before the Vita? They would have firmware updates all the time to try and block all the hacking and all the homebrew shit that people were doing. And it was almost a game with the modders to see who could crack it the fastest.
Oh, that shit's still that day.
I know, but that's just the one I always think of because I was into the PSP scene at the time. And there was actually my favorite update was like, what was it, like 4.13 or some shit that came out and was cracked in 7 minutes.
I don't remember that.
It was great. Like my numbers are probably all wrong, but it was like legendary fast. They're like, oh, that came out. Do computer. Oh, we're done. Here's the patch.
How much money was spent to research and development that?
I don't know. That's probably why there's no Vita 2.
Gone in moments. David, why don't you go ahead and bring us to our next story here?
Dude,
since you love a good train wreck.
Let's talk about Kickstarter for a minute and how it's just a complete and utter clusterfuck most of the time, but especially when it's video game related. And I can think of most examples of a developer or an actual persona from the game industry that made a game some years ago that was really, really popular. And they're like, you know what? I need to make a sequel to that game. But the company that I work for, either I don't work for them anymore or they don't want to do it. So I'm going to make a spiritual successor. And since I don't have any money on my own to develop it, I'm going to go to Kickstarter. I'm going to get backed. I'm going to make a game that's going to be amazing. You know, like Mighty Number 9. Remember how that was amazing?
Oh, yeah.
Keiji Inafune? Yeah.
Okay.
Totally deliver on promises. Anyway.
I was going to say, you heard about the physical collector's edition of that actually got mailed out to people, right?
Anyway, we're going to talk about Unsung Story. We're going to talk about Unsung Story and their developer Playdeck. How this game made $500,000 on Kickstarter.
660,000.
3 years ago. So this is a game that was pitched by, I don't remember his name, the guy that made Final Fantasy Tactics. Yeah?
Yasumi Matsuno.
Thank you. He was going to make a spiritual successor to Final Fantasy Tactics, a game beloved by a lot of people that's been released on most platforms at this point. It was going to be called Unsung Story, a strategy RPG, a tactics RPG, being published by Playdeck. It's been working on for like 3 years. They've been working to make this story real life. They're trying to do it. They are calling it quits. Now, they're not canning the game like a lot of other Kickstarters do when they just vanish with all your money. They're saying, we're over it. We're going to stop. And that's bad news, right? They're done with it. They're cutting ties. They're getting rid of it. They're going to hand it off to another developer. But that's where the good news comes in, right? They're going to give it to some other great developer that's going to really work to bring his story to life and bring it to everybody. The game company that they have handed it off to is a little game company called Little Orbit. Little Orbit, of course, they're famous because they made Barbie and Her Friends Puppy Rescue and Kung Fu Panda Showdown of Legendary Legends. Remember those games? And how they made money?
The headline via Kotaku.com. 3 years after raising $660,000 on Kickstarter, Unsung Story developer Playdeck bails. After a 3-year debacle involving shading behavior and broken promises and $660,126 that went nowhere, the game company Playdeck has decided to call it quits on Unsung Story, passing the rights to a new company that will apparently develop and publish the game. In an update this afternoon, Playdeck told Kickstarter backers that the company Little Orbit, makers of such fantastic games that you just rattled off there, David,
Oh, yeah.
will now develop and publish Yasumi Matsuno's supposed spiritual successor to Final Fantasy Tactics.
Sorry, they also made
amazing.
They also made Monster High, new goal in school.
Oh yeah, gotta get that in there, right?
Gotta get it in there. Gotta talk about it.
Effective...
Okay, so here's the best part. So this game had shit tons of delays, and they just kept not making it because while it was pitched as a spiritual successor to Final Fantasy Tactics, that was going to be a single player, story driven strategy RPG tactics game. That sounds awesome, right? We need more of those. There's just not enough. I actually love that genre.
I want
this
Mission to come back. I want Final Fantasy Tactics too.
This game became like a hardcore PvP nonsense game that wasn't even part of the original pitch. There was no updates. There was no art, screenshot, video, anything. It's Star Citizen, but worse because there's not even a beta.
So first off, Star Citizen's Alpha 3 was delayed, by the way, speaking of Star Citizen. So
that game's never coming out.
No, it's not.
If it comes out, I will buy it for a regular amount of money. But I'm not going to give them $10,000 for no reason.
If you can track down Unsung Story's original Kickstarter page, you will see them saying things like, hey, there's going to be a big update in March, and March will come, and no word, and then June will come around and go, hey, we have the PvP element coming in, and then everyone's like, wait, what? What PvP? That was not promised.
They started making another game in the middle of development because they forgot what they were doing.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They kept promising, like you said, video, screenshots, arts on their Kickstarter updates, and just nothing ever fucking materialized from it. So...
And I guess the final piece of good news is that in a blog post from Little Orbit themselves, they actually stated that they are starting the entire game from scratch.
Yeah. That sucks, but hey, at least they got something.
There's nothing usable to work with from what Playdeck has been making for the last however many years. There is nothing usable. It's all PvP nonsense that has nothing to do with Matsuno's original vision.
Be careful.
A tiny company that you have never heard of, unless you're really into Barbie games, is now making the spiritual successor to Final Fantasy Tactics from scratch.
Be careful.
Happy 2017.
With Kickstarters. I have always had a bugaboo about Kickstarter since its inception. I have always said be fucking careful. There are some good success stories that come from Kickstarter. I always will point to Wasteland 2. That was a crowdfunded game that fucking was amazing, and they're funding Wasteland 3 as well.
Shadowrun,
any of the Hellbrain scheme stuff. But
Battle
for every
so good.
Every one success, there are a plethora of disasters coming from it. For every Shadowrun, there is a mighty number 9. So...
Oh, no, that's a good example, because at least
that game came out. But yeah,
There are
it's
plenty of games where people are pouring in their money. Well, because the problem is because people started treating Kickstarter as if it was a pre-order system. They thought, oh, I'm going to give them this amount of money, and I'm going to get a game for really cheap. It's just going to take a while before I get it. It's like a really, really early pre-order. But that's not at all what it is. You're literally investing in a company to make a product, but you have no guarantee that you're going to get anything from it.
not
You
only
are
you're investing in a company, you're
giving
investing.
someone else money. You're giving someone else money to do something. You're not paying someone money for a good or a service. No, you were saying follow your dreams, and maybe I'll get something from it.
Yeah. Disco Keen is asking what happened to the Castlevania one. As far as I know, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is still being in development. It is coming along nicely. The action does show updates and everything to it. It has a demo out that's being shown behind closed doors at places. As far as I can tell, that game isn't in trouble. It's just taking fucking forever, because that's what happens when these very talented creators unyoke themselves from the corporate chain. The problem is that corporate chain was around them to keep them in place, to keep them grounded, to actually hit milestones. When you don't have that shit anymore, you tend to run away with things. See Star Citizen. All of this is having a very negative effect to video game Kickstarters in general. And in fact, they're down across the board. This article here from gamesindustry.biz. Video games declining on Kickstarter, says ICO. According to ICO Partners' mid-year status report on Kickstarter, while games remain incredibly popular on the crowdfunding platform, all is not as it seems. The subcategory of video games has actually not been growing at all, while the tabletop board game segment has been growing at a tremendous rate. They go on to give some numbers I'm not going to prattle off on here. Long story short, though, as you can see according to this chart, they kind of peaked in 2013. Had a little research in 2015, but right now the numbers at the first half of 2017 have been pretty consistent with 2016. I think it's second half of 2016 and the first half of 2016. It's a bit of a problem because also fewer and fewer video game Kickstarters are popping up as more and more developers are realizing this is not going to work out for people. On the other hand, however, Kickstarter is growing very heavily for board games, which has been almost non-stop growth, as you can see here, all the way back from 2012 to today. And I have a theory about that. I think a lot of it is because a video game takes 3 to 5 years to develop. It's a fucking monumental amount of work.
It's a lot more complicated. You need a lot more smart people. I don't necessarily mean like people with high IQs, but people that have a certain set of skills so they can create art assets, they can make programming, they can do whatever else they need to do. Board games, well, I'm not going to count any of the other stuff out, are technically simpler. They need an idea. They need a mechanic, they need to play test it to make sure it works, and they need the physical media.
You don't need animators to create your sprites, and you don't need coders to make shit work.
You'll probably need like a decent artist to make stuff, but hell, there's games that don't need any art at all. So
yeah,
it's still a thing. I'm actually gonna make a quick shout out to the guys that put together the Dark Souls Kickstarter, because that is to this day the only thing that I actually backed. And even though I have that, it's actually on my shelf because it's out in the States. They're still working on rolling it out in other regions, and they have updates twice a week. Yeah, and I already have it, and they're still sending me updates. So while there's definitely companies out there that are good and reputable, and they hang out, like Harebrained Schemes is a good example. It's just so hit and miss, with way more miss on Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's you really need to be careful who you give money to in advance for stuff that's not even done up yet. Another example of this recently, not Kickstarter related, but you know who Geek Chic is, right, David?
Where probably?
Geek Chic are the guys that built these high-end gaming tables you would see at conventions.
Oh, yes. Okay, those things are amazing, and I want one.
Well, you can't have one anymore because that company doesn't exist anymore.
What?
Yeah, they declared bankruptcy about a month ago. Not only declared bankruptcy, but filings make it sound like they had less than $300 in the bank when they did it.
Holy crap.
And remember, these guys take payment in full before your table gets shipped to you. So there are a lot of people who had shit paid off completely, and the status of their product is currently unknown. You cannot get in contact with these people. Multiple requests to find out what's going on with people who had deposits down on tables have gone unanswered.
So their operating costs or production costs were way too high, or they were pocketing way too much money, and they ran themselves out of business.
I believe in the article that I read, they were over $4 million in debt.
Damn.
and had $300 in the bank. Let me rephrase that. They didn't quite have $300 in the bank. What happens is that they had to cancel the Gen Con table because they just couldn't afford to go anymore. And to get a space at Gen Con was costing them $13,000. And their declared assets at time of bankruptcy was $13,289 or something like that.
That's crazy. But I mean, if you think they're basically making high-end furniture, and while yes, the tables were expensive, they weren't high-end furniture expensive.
No, they weren't.
I mean, really, if you go and look up like a really nice wood table, especially to have it shipped to you directly, that shit's really expensive. And they probably just didn't plan out their operating costs too well.
The cheapest shit that they sold though was still like $5,000 or $6,000. Their big creme de la creme table, the Sultan or some shit like that, you're talking $15,000. That is obscene. I know their shit's nice, but it ain't antique prices.
I mean, that's fair.
They started also getting their lunch eaten by competitors. You have places like Geek and Sons, and I think there's a place called BoardGameTables.com that you can get stuff between $5,000 and $7,000 for roughly their $15,000 table. So, anyways,
also people probably decided to go to Home Depot.
Yeah, you can fucking build one for $200. You have to know what you're doing.
Man,
that's the problem.
Millennials killed another thing. They killed the high-end gaming table business. Damn millennials.
Anyways. Just wanted to bring that out there. Always
sad.
To tie this back into what we were talking about. Be fucking leery of anything that asks for money up front without any like assurances that this is going to happen. Geek Chic's a little bit more of an extreme example, but especially when it comes to Kickstarter, I don't think they're in any obligation to actually deliver what they say they are. If the product disappears,
really bummed about
fucked.
That sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah.
Those tables were cool.
They are.
I mean, I always thought they were too expensive.
Earth Moon Sun says that's terrible. I agree. Disco Keen says he won't stand for it. Well, I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, he's going to make his own table with blackjack and
hookers. Even if you like go after Geek Chic or any of these other companies, once bankruptcy happens, yeah, there's not only is there nothing to go after. I believe you're what's considered a uninsured liability. I'm not positive. I could be getting my terms wrong. But long story short is you are at the bottom of people who get paid. Because first it goes to people who have invested in the company, and Kickstarter is not an investment. Remember, you are not investing in that company. So it goes
You're literally giving somebody money for free.
Yeah. It goes to the investors, the banks, the people who have spent like over hundreds of grand on something into the company. And then finally it filters down to you guys if there's anything left. More likely than not, you ain't getting shit, and that sucks, especially if you dropped 12 grand on a fucking table and now you don't got shit to show for it. But I mean, hey, that's
rough.
That's rough. Anyways, David,
yeah.
I think that does it for the news of the week. Now we're moving into a big release season. Shit's going to start picking up from here. We do have Shadow of War coming out later. Destiny 2 is like a month away, but that's still a little ways down the line. What can we play?
What are you talking about? This week is great. Let's talk about the shit that's coming out
now.
Well, probably not right this second. Some stuff is going to come out in about 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And one of those things you can play really, really soon is Lawbreakers for PC and PS4, a game that was in development for a while from the Cliffy B, right? Yeah.
This is Boss Key Studios, Cliff Blazinski's.
Thank you. I couldn't remember the name of his new studio, but if you don't remember who Cliffy B is, Google him. He's done a lot of shit in
been around forever.
The video game industry.
Still waiting for a Jazz Jackrabbit 2, by the way.
Anyway, he made Unreal. He made Gears of War. He's a pretty cool guy. And Lawbreakers is a first-person shooter, arena shooter, kind of like an Overwatch-style game. But with a twist, it's a lot more fast-paced. It's a lot more Unreal or Quakey than, say, Overwatch. The classes are, I feel, a bit more balanced, and the gameplay itself has some more classic shooter tropes. There's a capture the flag game. There's a capture the flag variant. There's deathmatch, and the big thing with Lawbreakers is there's like a zero gravity zone in the center of each map, which kind of gets cool because you go into that zone and you can actually fly around and murder people, and a lot of the characters have mobility. Super fast pace. I played the beta for a bit. It was pretty fun. So if you are looking for a new shooter and you have really fucking good reflexes, I would recommend taking a look. If you have slow, crappy reflexes, play another thing because you will get dominated.
I like what I've seen so far. I played for about 10 minutes. I like a lot of the gimmicky stuff in there, like the fact you can run and shoot backwards.
I put hours in the beta. Dude, my favorite part is literally you can hit control on a keyboard and your character will shoot behind themselves, and if you're in the 0G environment, you will like kind of get a mini boost as you shoot yourself around. It's great.
Yeah.
It's like a new level of rocket jump that you can do with a machine gun.
I just don't know how successful it's going to be. It feels like it's coming out at a bad time for it.
Yeah, we'll see. Another game coming out this week is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice on PS4 and PC. This is the new game put together by Ninja Theory, actually. The guys that made, well, lots of ninja games. Some difficult ninja games, including
That's
Ninja
not
Gaiden.
true.
What?
No. No. Ninja Theory, you're thinking Team Ninja.
Oh my god, I am totally thinking of Team Ninja.
Ninja
These are the guys
Theory.
That made the new Devil May Cry.
Yeah, they did
Heavenly
DMC
Sword.
and Heavenly
Oh
Sword.
my god. Yes, I'm sorry. Well, anyway, these guys make action games.
God damn it.
And they have a new one. Well, whatever. Fuck, they got ninja in the name. And they talked about it in a blog post that we like ninjas, and we've been working on ninjas, and here's our new game that's kind of ninja-based, except for it's based on Celtic and Norse mythology and looks dope as fuck. You play a girl named Senua, which I have trouble saying her name, and she actually goes on like a psychic journey through like a hellish underworld, and they actually describe it as an independent AAA game. So they funded it, they produced it themselves. But yeah, it looks really good. It looks like it has a lot of money behind it, but somehow they busted this shit out.
Also, only $29.99, I believe. Like,
yeah,
double check that where you're at, but I believe it's $30 American. And I would expect maybe 4 hours of gameplay from it if it holds true to like DMC and Heavenly Sword. But for $30,
not Ninja Gaiden though. Don't
not
listen to
Ninja Gaiden. For $30, I'm willing to give it a shot. It looks amazing. I'm kind of excited to play it.
It looks cool. Also, we need more games about Celtic and Norse mythology. What up? Also, out this week. Well, I mean, he just kills all the gods. That's different. We have Batman: The Telltale Series Season 2, Episode 1. It has more of a name than that. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah, it has a big subtitle, but yeah.
There's like a subtitle to it. Out on everything that Telltale games are out: Xbox, PS4, PC, iOS, Android, whatever damn thing you play games on. It is another Telltale game. It is another episode of the Batman Telltale game, which a lot of people say is one of the greatest. If you don't know who Telltale is, they're the guys that made the Walking Dead choose your own adventure game. It's kind of how I want to describe it.
That's what they all are, to be honest.
They made it. If you don't know who Telltale
Wolf
is,
Among Us, Tales from the Borderlands, the Game of Thrones one, the eponymous Batman one here. They did Back to the Future, Sam and Max way back when.
Thank you. It is just not my style of game, but a lot of people really love them. So if you are all about Telltale and you can't get enough, you might want to look into this. If you are over their formula, this does not break the mold.
Yeah, I am over their formula. I am tired of playing glitchy games. Like, I love the stories to them, but what burned me the last time was the Batman Season 1, actually. I was playing the last episode, the big climactic fight crashed on me 4 separate times. And I was just... I'm kind of done with Telltale games because of it.
At least Joker didn't inject Bane Venom. God damn it.
Moving on.
Also coming out this week for PS4, Graceful Explosion Machine. I think it's PS4 and Steam. This game's already on Switch. It is a 2D side-scrolling shooter. Not a shoot-'em-up, but it's more slow-paced, looks like. You have a quad weapon array, so you shoot all kinds of weapons in all kinds of directions. If you ever played the old Pixel Junk shooter game on PS3, I think they re-released them for PS4, but it reminds me a lot of that style. It's more of like a slow-play shooter where you kind of move around delicately to avoid things. It's not super fast-paced, I guess is what I'm saying.
I've heard good things about it. That's the extent of my knowledge on it. I know a couple people that were really big in it.
It's on Switch. You can play it on Switch. Or you can play it on PS4 and Steam. Also coming out this week for Xbox One and PS4, a game that's already on Steam, Masquerada, Songs and Shadows. I played it at PAX for a little while, I think last year. It's a single-player tactical RPG set in a Renaissance city, and everybody has masquerade masks. And you have real-time combat. You can pause to set up crazy element combos, and everybody has fancy masks. It looks really pretty. It's got this hand-drawn art style. And it's supposed to have like a really rich storyline. People seem to like it, but from the little bit I played, I don't know. Maybe it gets depth later, but it seemed pretty simple.
Yeah, the 10 minutes I played of it at PAX, like not last year but 2 years ago, it seemed entertaining. Take a look at it if you're bored and none of this stuff seems to catch your eye. I would say then take a look at that.
Yep. Also coming out this week for Xbox One and PS4, Mega Man Legacy Collection number 2. This actually has basically all the new retro-styled Mega Man games. Mega Man 7, 8, 9, and 10, with all the goodies that those games entailed in one collection you could buy at one time for your Xbox One or PS4.
Told they were solid. I think it was Mega Man 10 specifically that I heard a lot of high praise about.
Yeah, if you don't know who Mega Man is, I don't know why you're watching our show. Also coming out, a game that I don't know how to pronounce, so I'm going to hand it over to this guy. Sine
I think it's Cinemore, but I could be wrong.
Anyway, Sine Mora EX is an Xbox One, PS4, Switch, and PC release coming out this week that is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up style game. So unlike Graceful Explosion Machine, which I think looks a bit more slower paced, this is your like Gradius style. You are slowly moving to the right. You are shooting a bunch of crazy bosses. You are dodging like crazy. You're probably going to die a lot. It looks really good. It has a story mode and a arcade mode, so a decent amount of stuff. If you're into shoot-'em-ups, which some people here are, you might want to take a look. There's a new Hearthstone expansion coming out this week, Knights of the Frozen Throne, on every damn thing, because Hearthstone's on every damn thing.
Yep.
If you care about Hearthstone, take a look. I don't. Have fun. Hitting this week, a game that I kind of have to buy for my girlfriend, Cat Quest, releases on PC and PS4 this week. It actually will be releasing on the Switch in Q4 of this year, so sometime after October, I guess. It is an open-world RPG set in the, directly from their page, Possum World of Cats. I'm sorry.
Possum, like as in cat paws, not as in the upside-down hanging sleeping marsupial.
I'm just going to read their blurb exactly as it's written, and you will know everything you need to know about this game.
Okay.
In search of your catnapped sister.
Okay, you're done. That's enough. That's enough.
Continent of
it's been established what this is.
It actually looks kind of fun. It's an open world RPG, but it's an action RPG that kind of reminds me of like the Illusion of Gaia style of fighting. If anyone played that game on Super Nintendo, which you all should.
Quintet Trilogy was amazing. That's right, Trilogy for people in America.
And it's a game with a shit ton of cat puns, but it actually looks like a decently fun action RPG. I'm not going to play it, but you probably know somebody that wants it. Also hitting this week for PS4, a game that's already out on Steam, but with new content, Neon Drive, a game I am buying as soon as I get home tomorrow. While it is a re-release of a game, it's a rhythm-based 80s amazing. Just, oh my god, just look at the trailer.
It looks amazing.
It's fueled by neon and nostalgia. It's got this totally sweet, like synthwave style soundtrack, and I can't wait to play it. It looks pretty simple because it is just a rhythm game, but you drive basically like the Lamborghini from Outrun in some Tron-looking cityscapes while dodging bars to the music.
I'm reminded a lot of Road Blasters, the old arcade game from way back when you were driving around in such a post-apocalyptic landscape, collecting green orbs and shooting red cars.
Also, if you pull it up on Steam, make sure to watch the second trailer for it and just listen to that song, and let us know later in the comments what song that reminds you of. It's got a touch of something.
Yeah.
Also releasing this week, game
Stand in the Hand is worth 2 in the bush.
Nice. That's good. Man, you really got the power at those things. Anyway, also releasing this week on...
I don't even care if anyone knows what we're talking about. We literally do this show just for our own humor.
Victorum is a game I'm only aware of because of the internet. They actually did a lot of content releases, I think, on like Reddit and Imgur and like those websites that people stare at all the time. And it's a single-player action RPG where you play as a mage, but the cool thing is you kind of craft spells on the fly a la Magicka, but in a 3D, fully destructible environment. It has a procedural node-based world map. You actually shape the magic, so say you take a base of lightning or lightning element, whatever, and then you add, I want chain abilities, I want better explosion, and I want like stun or whatever, and then you actually start to combine it and you make different spells on the fly as you add them together. It's kind of difficult to describe, but Magicka is really the closest thing I can describe it. You mix some spells together and you get something cool, and you can blow up bridges.
It sounds cool, but the biggest problem I have with it is you mentioned is procedural. I am so done with procedural games. It's not even funny. I now
also is a very small game. I think there's only actually one person that made it.
Okay.
But I wanted to throw it out there because I feel like people might like it.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at it, right?
Oh. All right. I also don't think it's expensive. So at least
you're looking that up real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how much it costs. I don't think it's that expensive.
Let's take a look here. Let's see.
I don't know. I think it's supposed to be like $20.
You know, the Steam page just says unlock approximately in a couple days, so I can't even. It doesn't even have an official price on Steam at the moment.
Yeah, well.
Anyways, anything else you want to add there, David, before we wrap things up? Yes.
We were joking about Stan Bush's The Touch. That's what we were doing. Just so you guys know. I feel like not enough people know what we're talking about, so I need to actually just say it because we're fucking hilarious, Internet.
No, we're not.
You're welcome.
No, we're not.
I'm hilarious.
Incorrect. This has been GamePoints episode 99. We stream live every Monday here at Twitch TV/GamePoints at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We do appreciate when you can join us in the chat live. Thank you, Earth, Moon, Sun, Disco King, anyone else that happened to be in chat at the same time. We always appreciate it, and we try to interact with you when you can. If you can't, however, watch us live, feel free to go to our YouTube page. Just type in GamePoints, one word. We pop right up there. Regardless of where you happen to be watching us at, feel free to like, comment, follow, subscribe, unlike, dislike, block, or anything else you would fucking want to do.
Oh, hate blast this kid on Twitter.
Yeah, no, don't. You can follow the show on Twitter, however, at GamePoints PC. You can follow us individually. I am Stephen Brown at CapitalistPig21. That there is David Smith at Palchef_Satori. If you want to email the show, you can do so at GamePointsPC@gmail.com. And without further ado, I believe that does wrap things up. Thank you for watching, and until next week, we are out of here.